Alright, what's going on, guys? This is Austin from Airsoft Station bringing you another gun overview. However, this one is in our first ever custom PolarStar. It's going to be a little different than most of the videos that you're used to. Instead of just going over the body and then taking it to the Chrono and showing you that stuff, we're actually going to focus more on the gun itself, because if you know anything about PolarStars, you know that these are very customizable. The FPS can change extremely easily, the rate of fire can change extremely easily, and so we're not really going to focus on that as much. So, starting, from the outside, we've got an H&K M27 Body. We chose this body because it's a really solid gun. It's not just your standard M4, but it still takes your normal M4 magazines, and it looks really nice. It will actually be sold with this outer barrel with the orange tip, just for legal reasons. We got to sell it with the orange tip. However, you can see that you can make it look really nice really easily. And this silencer, unlike an AEG, actually gives it a different sound. An AEG, all of the sound comes from the gearbox and the gears winding. However, on a PolarStar, all of the noise comes from the air coming out of the barrel. So you can tell it gives it a really nice popping sound. You can buy it with the accessories or without the accessories. We included a red dot, an armored red dot. It's got some rails on it, looks nice, with a flip-up magnifier, because with PolarStar, the FPS is extremely consistent. You can make it extremely accurate, which in that case you're going to be taking longer shots with it. You're going to want something to help you reach out farther. Now, as for the internals of this gun, when it comes to a PolarStar or any pneumatic airsoft rifle, the longer the barrel, the higher the FPS. Simple as that. And the tighter the bore of the barrel, the higher the FPS. It's just the science of how the air comes out. It's got more time for the gas to expand behind the BB. And so to help with that, we stuck a 455mm 602 inner barrel. Now, the 602s are pretty much as tight as you can get without starting to cause jamming issues. And the barrel comes out pretty far, so you got a pretty high FPS, and that allows you to run your air tank at a lower PSI while still getting the same FPS. So that'll help with air efficiency. You don't have to use nearly as much air to get the BB moving just as fast. The hop-up system, we put a Madbull Ultimate hop-up system in there. You can see it right in there. You probably can't see it, but it's got the wheel that, rather than the standard M4 magazine that you would turn clockwise for more hop, it's actually got almost the G36 style wheel. It helps it to hold the hop up better, and so you're not losing your hop, or it's adjusting itself as you're shooting. It stays really solid, really consistent every time. In the actual Fusion engine, we didn't do a whole lot of stuff to it. I personally opened it up, made sure everything was looking good in there, adjusted a few things, made it a little more efficient. Again, it's going to perform exactly the same. It's just you're going to get more shots off of each tank. The last thing is the FCU in here. The FCU is actually wired to a JST connector, which is the power source. They're little mini LiPo batteries, which you fit in the buffer tube of your gun, and that's what actually powers your FCU, or your fire control unit. We rewired that to a Tamiya connector, so you can use all your standard regular airsoft batteries. So actually we've got a 7.4 LiPo just in the stock like normal, which you normally run the gun off of. And although it's only, I believe it's 1,000 milliamp hours, which is actually pretty small for an airsoft gun, that is huge for an FCU, because an FCU takes almost no power. It just has to control the Fusion engine itself. So doing a little math on it, you're going to get about 176,000 shots off before you have to charge that battery. Now again, leaving it on for a long time isn't really going to be a problem, because it does have an automatic shut off in there. So if you just leave your gun battery plugged in, it will shut off by itself. But the second you pull the trigger, like I said, it probably shut off by itself already. The second you pull that trigger though, it turns on and shoots, no problem. It's a really good gun. Now let's take it to the range and I can show you, but again, you can really turn this into whatever you want. Your FPS is not going to be locked where it is. Your rate of fire is not going to be locked where it is. See you there. Alright, so we're back at the AirsoftStation Chrono range, and unlike the standard review videos that you see, the FPS and the rate of fire that we're going to show is completely adjustable. Using different nozzles, your PSI setting, those both change the FPS, and then your FCU settings, those will change the rate of fire. So right now we're shooting about 350, but again, you can crank these up all the way. I've cranked mine up to about 1,000. As for rate of fire, again, right now we're shooting about 35. I think it's a little more. One of those might have skipped. Okay. About 40 rounds a second when you get all of them to feed right. But again, 41.6 rounds a second, again, completely adjustable. You can bring that up, bring it down. I've seen guys crank this all the way up to about 95. So let's take it back and we'll go over one quick last overview. Alright, so some last words about the custom PolarStar M27. It's got some really nice attachments on it. You've got the flip-up sights, so you're not reliable on a battery. If you do want to get rid of those, just flip them down. Then you've got this nice red dot for when you're close quarters. When you take those longer shots, you just flip up your magnifier. It works really good. But setting aside the beauty of the M27, setting aside all of the attachments, in my mind, the main focus here is the fusion engine inside here. Even if this was in kind of a junky body, you can't argue with the durability and the customizability of the PolarStar fusion engine. Now, there's a lot of arguments which one's better. Electric, AEG, gas, PolarStar, spring. I'm going to be unbiased. I run a PolarStar myself. I really do like them. But, you know, again, I'll be unbiased here. However, you can't argue with how long these things last, how easy they are to maintain. And, you know, it's really hard to get an AEG to shoot 600 FPS at, you know, 80 rounds a second. Possible with this. In fact, relatively easy. So, you know, setting aside all the bias, setting aside all the arguments, it is a really good gun. It is relatively pricey. However, if you see yourself as a player who's going to play a lot, rather than investing in tons of AEG upgrades, AEG maintenance, repairs, stuff like that, might be something to think about. Just getting into it. Big upfront initial cost, but once you're in, you're in. And, you know, like I said, got one myself, they work beautifully. So come check it out. It will be in our glass cases in the store. Feel free to come check it out. Have a good one, guys.